Mr. Vice Chair.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
Could you do me a favor and go into the settings for the meeting in the ... more and turn off the noise suppression for me?
On the main computer?
Yeah, if you could. It's going in and out because it's registering that there's either no sound or there's background noise. So it's going to help the audio a bit if you turn off that noise suppression, if you could.
Yeah, I was just trying to find the noise suppression.
What?
I turned off the noise suppression.
Did you get it, Robert, or do you need me to walk you through it?
Yeah, I might need your help with that.
That's okay. Just on the main screen for the video call, there's going to be the More button. It's next to People, Chat, and Reactions.
Yeah, got it.
You'll click that, and then you'll see noise suppression if you scroll down. Or hold on, where's that? I'm sorry. It's in device settings.
Okay, good.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Echo canceling speakerphone, is that what you're referring to? Oh, I see it. That's on auto. Okay, you should turn it off. Okay, it's off. How's that?
That's better. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Okay, looks like we do have our recorded for tomorrow. Right, so
I call the regular Open Spaces Commission meeting to order for December 5th, 2022. Robert, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Commissioner Besser,
I'm here.
Commissioner Kaplan, Commissioner White, Commissioner Norton,
Here.
Commissioner Waller,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson, and Council Representative Kara House.
All right. So we have a forum. Move on to number 3, which is the land acknowledgement statement. The Flagstaff Open Spaces Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. And we honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home. All right. And moving on to number 4. Item 4 is the approval of the September 26, 2022 meeting minutes. Is there any discussion or corrections to the minutes as they've been written?
No, I move to approve the minutes.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved as written. Okay, let's move on to number 5, public participation. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject that is not scheduled before the commission on this day. The Arizona open meeting law prohibits the commission from discussing or acting on an item which is not listed on the prepared agenda. Commission members may, however, respond to criticism made by those addressing the commission, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. To address the commission on an item that is on the agenda, please wait for the chair to call for public comment at the time the item is heard. So is anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on a subject that is not on the agenda for tonight? Hearing and seeing none, move on to the business items. 6A, the first one up is the McMillan Mesa Natural Area Designation Plaque. The requested action on this item is that it's informational and a discussion item. Robert?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We have been planning some signage for McMillan Mesa for a while. And as you might know, that McMillan Mesa was set aside by Proposition 4 and 3, which citizens were really instrumental in getting that passed, or enough signatures to get on the ballot, and led to the preservation of McMillan Mesa. And those citizens and our program as well do think it would be appropriate for us to put some sort of permanent plaque or monument stating that the area was approved by voters and to be preserved. And we are considering signage and interpretive signage that's included for key points of entry into the preserve. So that includes the interpretation of Proposition 4 and 3, welcome and like no camping and no graffiti signs. So we have a couple different options about how we might move forward if we wanted to move forward more quickly with the plaque. We could allocate a small portion of our base budget operating funds towards designing, producing, and installing one welcome sign that interprets the Proposition 413 sign, or Proposition 413. Or we could wait to include the sign as part of our project application to the Arizona State Parks Safety and Environmental Education Grant, which will help us provide funding to complete the signage for the natural area. The timeline on is potentially 1 to 2 years out, still at this point. The available funds from a C grant are up to $10,000 per project. And we would be eligible as a municipality for that grant. And the match required for that is 5.7%. And eligible projects do include trail and kiosks, trail-related signage, educational programming, and trail guides. So I thought we would open it up for commission discussion about what your preferences would be for a potential sign, interpreting and citizens being involved in that process. And I do notice we do have some public members.
Yes, I was going to say before we turn it, to the commission to discuss. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment on this?
Celia, that's.
Hi. Shall
I
I
say
speak?
Hi, it's a little, I have a little delay, so I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, but my audio is not great.
You're good.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and I'm just thrilled that this is on the agenda. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone. I feel like this is a great thing to do, to provide some information to the public, both residents and visitors, about how this wonderful open space came to be. And I support the commission having further conversation about what that would entail. I did not realize there is a grant opportunity. So however the commission feels it most appropriate to fund the signage, I have indicated I'm willing to help with the language as far as writing what might go on there, collaborate with the staff, but I think it would be great actually if we were able to put signage in more than one place, maybe 2 places, but that can be worked out later. I just, from a conceptual standpoint, I think this would be a wonderful thing, because I think a lot of people actually don't realize, and in the future won't realize, why all of that land is protected. And I think the voters deserve to be acknowledged. So thank you again for the opportunity to comment on this agenda item.
Celia, are there any other comments from the public on this item? Don't see anything. Anyone? I guess as a commission, I guess we'll talk about this next, and I'll jump in right away and start this. I do think it's appropriate for a permanent designated sign for McMillan Mesa, and to use part of the base budget, operating budget, to at least get the first sign up. If it's going to take a year or two for grants to be approved and to be able to put the signage in at that point, I just as soon see at least something there sooner rather than later. And I would support using the base operating budget to do that. So, any other commissions members that would like to voice their opinion?
I agree with Commissioner Wilson, and I think when we put the sign, that also have the effect from the public, that they have the feeling that what their voice is heard with passing the proposition. So if delaying society 1 2 years, in 2 years we will have another election, and that will just will that's kind of doing the result of the election.
I do see that it's probably appropriate for more than one location,
Right.
but we need to designate McMillan Mesa, but to start with, at least get one of as soon as we can to acknowledge it.
Yeah, how long ago was Port 13?
5 years.
2016. Oh, 2006. Okay, so it's been a few years. And I remember when it was designated and all of that, but I just didn't know how far out we've been sort of missing signage. Definitely in favor of having a sign that gives credit to the voters, and but I sure would like to see more elaborate signage. I know when I'm in a public space, whether it's here or when in my travels, really impressive interpretive signage is what proves to me that a space is being cared for and makes a lasting impression. And that was going to be one of my comments when we get to the strategic plan, how important I feel signage and amenities are in spaces. So, I understand the urgency, or that obviously now it's been a long time and that maybe there is a need for a sign, but So I'm sympathetic to those points of view. But I'm also was initially leaning toward waiting for the grant and being able to do something a little bit larger scale that was coordinated and complementary to all the other signs. And if we did do something now, you know, hopefully the design and it's straightforward. If you get the signage through the grant, that would be a concern for me. Just, you know, I come from a marketing background and sales offices and things like that, so I'm always, you know, thinking signage and consistency, how things work. That's my input for that.
Right, that was Commissioner Jillian.
Yeah. Julie, that's her hand up.
Are you giving me permission to speak?
Yes. Speak.
Oh, thank you. Sorry I was late. I was having trouble logging in. I have a question. First is this an interpretive sign or is this a recognition sign plaque? And what locations are we looking at? And how much without grants would this cost? I guess I need more clarification, please.
Thanks for your questions. I've got, you know, a few ideas about what type of signage exists at some of our other open space properties. If you take a look at the screen there, you can kind of see an idea of what we have at Picture Canyon. We have this is at our main entry point of Flagstaff, El Paso Flagstaff Road. It has a sign, it includes a map of the area and some rules and courtesies. You know, in addition to obviously introducing people to the preserve, we would like to interpret Proposition 4.3. We don't have a design for this yet, so we are certainly open for advice and opinions of the commission. You know, another sign that we have over at Picture Canyon is this Picture Canyon plaque, which notes the location as a historic place. So we could consider something like that as well. I do not have quotes for sign cost as of yet, but I would assume depending on what type of signage we're looking at, we're probably talking about anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000.
I guess I just need more clarification on the location. I'm hiking at Picture Canyon pretty much every single week, and interpretive signage at Picture Canyon is amazing, fantastic. Recognition signing, I don't think is necessary. I question spending money and resources at a time when the use of ecological resources is a concern. I don't, as a voter, we need recognition that we saved and we supported this area. I'd rather see the money put into interpretive signs.
Yeah, here's a map of the McMillan Basin Natural Area. I would say that our main access point tends to be where the footbridge crosses Cedar, where I put the red circle. I think that's one of the main access points that people use. They typically will park over at Buffalo Park and they'll follow the trail system. The one thing that's really so great about McMillan Basin is it provides a lot of access for the neighboring communities to the natural area. So you can see that we have some access to the south, some access to the Sunnyside here on the east. We have some access near the J. Lively Recreational Center. So there's a lot of points of entry. So it is hard to say which one of those is the main access point for the area. And you know, our program does have identified as a project in our management plan to put up interpretive signs at McMillan Mesa and also for Observatory Mesa. And so that is coming at some point down the road. That doesn't mean we can't move forward with an interpretive sign that announces Proposition 4.3. It is kind of a unique way to preserve a piece of property, so I think it is worth interpretation amongst other types of interpretations, like natural and cultural history.
I think when you do interpretive signs at some of these various areas when the larger grant were to come through, because there are so many different access points. You know, every sign or every group of signs somewhere could give credit to, you know, this preserved area as a result of, you know, a voter initiative to preserve it as an important feature of Flagstaff, you know, without dedicating an entire sign, maybe just one sign in one location that not everybody's going to see, where, you know, credit could be given as a little snipe almost on every sign or every group of signs at the locations that are decided upon. And maybe that would give us more bang for our buck in a sense.
Yeah, thanks for that point. Because we use grant funds for Picture Canyon, you'll actually notice in the signs there that we have something similar to what you just stated that recognizes the Arizona State Parks grant system. So you'll see that on the signage throughout. That is something that is very, you know, short. It's not an interpretive, you know, paragraph necessarily, but it does recognize that where that funding source came from for those signs. So that's a great option as well.
And I see that Andy, Vice Chair Kessler, has his hand up. Andy?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we need to get too much in the weeds right now, right? We're just trying to need to move this process forward. And in terms of interpretation, right? Interpretation is for things like history, what's there, what animals, what, you know, what's the geology, all this kind of stuff. So I think I would like to look at this holistically and say, if you're a visitor to McMillan Mesa Natural Area, like, what is there to know about this place? In terms of history, I think this is historic because this was the largest election victory of any issue in Flagstaff ever, as far as I can tell. Prop 413 scored the highest percentage of election in Flagstaff's history. I think that's newsworthy. That should be on the sign, that Prop 413 was the most successful open space whatever in Flagstaff. That happened, and it's in the books. So I think having that on there is an important part of the interpretation. I don't know if necessarily we need a plaque as part of that. I'm fine with that, but I think the interpretation should include Prop 413 because that's part of the history of what happened there. So that's my 2 cents. And also, you know, I like Buffalo Park's interpretive sign as a model because it's got history. It's talks about the kestrel. You know, it's a map of the area. And also the thing that I think is fascinating about McMillan Mesa is just the geologic history of it. That, you know, is a big volcanic flow, and you know, there's all kinds of things that people can learn about McMillan Mesa that could go on that sign.
Thank you. Any other comments at the moment on this item? How would you like to proceed with this?
Well, I can just repeat kind of what I heard.
Because we're not making a decision today, right?
No, we don't. Yeah, I didn't make this as a decision item, but I appreciate the commissioners weighing in. So what I heard was that it's something that's worth interpreting, even if it's part of a larger sign. So it doesn't have to be super expensive or a sign dedicated just for that sole purpose. And then the commission is in support of looking into putting in one sign prior to us providing or applying for a grant that would sign the whole area, which we do intend to do at some point down the road. Opportunity. So, did I summarize that well?
You summarized it pretty good. But the way I'm thinking, you know, society is already how many years, and I see it in the point of view of encourage people to vote. Really, society, how many years? There's nothing really happening. Even if put the simple sign, this is the result of proposition, whatever the 413. And this area is preserved. That's the simple sign as it is. So the effect for the citizen really is like, okay, my voice has been heard. So the next election, I will be participating more. That's the thing that my point of view. Why easily is not delay it first. The second, not really elaborate in terms of, I agree with Andy in terms of important to have historical cultures, geological and such. But we could have it really later when we have that grant to have it really just more elaborate. But for now, it's really just have simple sign, this area preserved as a result of your vote on proposition.
So maybe the sign is more temporary in nature, you know, not as expensive.
Right.
That would just last for the 2 to 3 years until the grant came through and the holistic signage could be designed and installed.
I see that Commissioner Worsham had a hand up at one point.
I just sidebar. When we voted on this, I do know that there was a bit of controversy that by the yes vote in accepting this parcel, it actually was a smaller parcel than what it initially was supposed to be, that all that development that was behind it was supposed to have been preserved. And it would have just, if we had voted no, it would have just been a road connecting to 180. And I know that there was some controversy with this vote and what land. I don't know all the details. I was looking before the meeting to see if I could find them and I couldn't, but just as a point of question.
I'm happy to take that on if you guys want. Or Robert, do you want to take that?
Commissioner?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, just to help answer that question, you know, I was part of the effort and there was no proposal for a road at the time. This was a chunk of land that the city owned that was zoned for development if they so choose, but there were no plans for development. The only development that was on the record was the state veterans home, which the folks working on Prop 413 set aside for development. So they took the chunk of land and carved out some lands for development like the veterans home. So that was the big thing. And also some area around NASET and for additional development. So we wanted to make sure that folks just didn't think we were locking away all the lands. Like there's some need for development, and we acknowledge that in the passing of Prop 413. I hope that answers your question.
It did, thank you.
And just while I have the mic, one other thing that I'd really like to see, I saw this actually in Bookman's. Bookman has this, you know, it's like a welcome sign in all these different languages, in Spanish, Navajo, Hopi. I think that would be really cool to have just a little spot just welcoming everyone, you know, in multiple languages. I know that takes extra space, but if this is a welcome sign, I think having welcome in multiple languages is a pretty cool little thing. So just an idea.
Thank you, Andy. Some point, it's going to come back at us with a decision, or or a decision point where we need to say yay or nay how we proceed.
I'm happy to bring the design to